Good morning, interwebs. It's 1 in the morning, and I'm just now picking up the camera. I considered doing it several times today, and some days I just don't. But we've had a productive and full day around here. I spent a lot of my time, we homeschool, which I think most of you know, and I have been, we're changing up some curriculum things this year. We don't ever really, quit for the year or start for the new year. We kind of just keep rolling along all the time. And it kind of ebbs and flows based on everybody's energy levels and interest levels. And it works for us. But we are going to be changing out some things about curriculum. And so I've been working on that. And Manilia's particularly congested tonight, so she's sounding a little wheezy over on the chair, in case you can hear her. And Jezebel is being particularly needy right here. What do you want? Is that better? Do you want me to talk to you instead of the camera? Anyways, I just finished filming the Makes Monday podcast, even though it's officially Tuesday, but it was my first really good opportunity for quiet, alone in the house, to do that, now that everybody is asleep. Did some canning today, working on some applesauce. I made super good pork spare ribs in the crock pot. I put them in last night before I went to bed. We had them for lunch today. They were amazing. I put some of the tomato paste that we had been working on in, and then mustard and brown sugar and Worcestershire sauce and seasoned salt and ginger and a couple other things, and it was so good. We had that over rice, and then for dinner I made my yummy creamy tomato soup, and that was really good. And now I'm just sitting here with a cup of coffee and a biscotti that came in a Christmas gift basket, and I'm about to eat it. I had one the other night, and I'm like, oh, I should really make biscotti again. I have a really good recipe. It's in the Better Homes and Garden. It's like a red plaid cookbook. I really like that cookbook. My mom had one when I was growing up, and I have, for my wedding, my sister's mother-in-law got me that for my wedding, and so it's the newer edition of the same thing, and it's a good all-around cookbook, so I recommend that cookbook to anybody that doesn't already own it. And it's not very expensive, and the recipes in it has a lot of really practical stuff. I mean, there's some additional, funsy things, but especially when it comes to cookies and baking and breads and things, all of your good standard things you'd want recipes for are there. And I know that you can go on the internet, blah, 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 and I do for the most part. But for those kind of things, I find that I end up spending, it's like going to Ravelry and looking for something. I spend more time looking for something, and ultimately, half the time, never get around to making it. Whereas if I just go and I'm like, I want a cookie, I can just flip through. It's like, these are all good cookie recipes. And the few that I've had modifications to, I have them written in, the margins and stuff. It's actually kind of funny. There's a few things, because I've used the cookbooks since we first got married, and shortly after we got married, we moved out to the resort, so we were living at a different altitude, and then we moved from California in the mountains to here in Kansas on the farm, that I had to, some of my changes that I had kind of penciled in are different, because with baking and things that rise, sea level has a lot to do with things and your elevation, so it's kind of fun to get to see that there are some differences there. Okay, I've been sitting here. The other thing I spent a bunch of time today doing, is I made myself a schedule. Steve has the weekend off, and frequently I don't find that I'm not very good at being told what to do. Can you tell? Can you tell that I don't like that? So an hour by hour schedule sometimes is problematic, or I don't follow it. But I've kind of committed to a number of things, or things that I want to be committed to, and I was just starting to feel like maybe there weren't enough hours in the day, and when I started writing things down on a schedule, it was legit, I need a day with more hours. And I told Steve that would be bad, because then I would find more things to commit to. So I was trying to also make sure that I schedule some structured fun time for myself. Because, you know, that's that oxymoron right there. Structured fun time. But, like, time that is set aside for me to do things without an obligation that they be purposeful or productive or make anybody happy but me. Where it's not that I don't do those things anyways, but I feel guilty about them, and I need them earmarked as guilt-free. So I have some of that time scheduled into every day. And so I scheduled all of the things, like wrote down what needs to happen, also so I can see, like, what time do I need to start making lunch so we can eat lunch on time, and where will school fit in and stuff, because I also am transitioning. That's the other thing with school, is we are now transitioning into having 2, like, real students, because my daughter's starting 4th grade, and my son is on a much more kindergarten-y program at this point, and then my 3-year-old wants to be doing stuff, so, like, kind of getting everything so that everybody gets their time is important. So I kind of went and laid everything out, plus we have some things coming up this week. Steve is going to be coaching our daughter's soccer team again this year. I was noticing at the end screen of the other vlogs this week that last year this time we were just getting into soccer mode, and once again that's what's happening. Their first soccer practice is tomorrow night. The nice thing is that for the six weeks, I think, might be 8, but anyways, the time that soccer is happening, I won't have to take her to dance every week because Steve will be doing that, because they will go to dance and then immediately have soccer practice afterwards, which is going to be a big day for them, but it means I don't have to go, so that's exciting for me, and I will take the reprieve. So that is one thing, and then Friday I have an acupuncture appointment again, which is kind of funny. I totally forgot. I was telling Steve what I was looking at doing this week, and he's like, "And you have acupuncture on Friday," and I was like, "Oh, I do, thanks," and then I had to move some things around. Because I intend to be KN on Friday, and I also, on Steve's days off, there's just going to be a lot more canning. Are y'all sick of hearing about canning yet? But it's good that I'm getting it all done now. We've had so little food waste this year. It's been awesome. In previous years of canning, I've had a lot of things go bad. I think in part it is that I have been staying on top of it, and Steve has been immeasurably helpful. Like, he is doing so much to help the canning process. And it's not that he wasn't willing to in years past. I didn't know, in learning to can, I didn't know what to ask him to help with. And now that we have a system down, we've done the same things a number of years in a row, and we know what does and doesn't work, I know what to tell him to do, and he knows what that looks like, you know? So that helps. And asking for help helps. And also the tomatoes especially are just in better shape than in years past. They're not, we don't have any bug damage or any, we've had issues with blossom end rot, which if you're really into gardening, you know what that is, and if you aren't, it wouldn't matter even if I explained it. It basically just ruins your tomatoes or parts of them. And we haven't had issues with that this year, so it has been just really nice to have good quality food to work with. So there's been canning of that. There'll be more canning. We're hoping to get through the rest of the apples this weekend while he's home. Tomatoes, there's tons of them. Hoping to get through, you know, batches of those every day. And then I'm going to have a whole bunch more green beans come in, I think, which will be great because last year I had like 6 jars and I was sad. In fact, I still have one of them because I come from a family of slight food hoarders. And I work really hard mentally to not do that. And it is not always easy. But I had issues with earmarking food in my head as special. And when you can it yourself, it feels special, which I like using the stuff that feels special, but I also need to, since it is all that we get, view it all as normal and like needs to be eaten. But usually as I get toward the end of a given item, like if I only have 6 or 8 things of green beans, the last 2 or 3, I'm like doling out like they're super like special. And I just need to eat them because they're not doing anybody any good just sitting there. So I actually have 1 jar, which was kind of, I had sat on it because I didn't want them to all be gone. But then it got stuck in the back of the cabinet at one point when we were moving the kitchen stuff around, and I didn't realize I still had it. But I saw it, and so we do need to eat that. Maybe we'll eat that this weekend too, to kind of refresh our supplies. So, now that I've chewed your ear off about canning some more, I'm going to sit here and eat my biscotti and drink my coffee and edit the podcast so that I can get it up for all of you.